The word thought leader is one of the most overused terms in the expert business space. And in this video, we'll discuss what it actually means and what it takes to genuinely become one. Here's a quick overview of what I'll be covering in this video. First, what thought leadership isn't and what it really is. The difference between having expertise and credibility versus actually leading thought. The two things that every thought leader has that most experts are missing. And I'll share at the end one critical piece that most people overlook and don't address at all that makes, I think, the biggest difference. The word thought leader gets thrown around a lot lately. Everybody's calling themselves one, but in my opinion, the term has kind of lost its meaning because a lot of people that call themselves thought leaders are actually not. And when you really get what it is and you stop copying or doing what other people are doing and start doing what's uniquely yours, then everything shifts and the opportunities start to come to you, which is kind of the point of intentionally positioning yourself as a thought leader, isn't it? So let's get the obvious out of the way. A thought leader is someone who's actually leading thought, meaning that they're not just reflecting back or regurgitating something that they learned somewhere else. They're actually at the leading edge of what's happening in their field or their industry. And what that means is that a real thought leader is probably getting some pushback, is probably in the line of fire somewhat. And this is what most people overlook. Being a thought leader is not just about being visible or being credible. It's literally about changing the game and the way people are thinking about something. I've worked with many thought leaders, both in early stages of their businesses and thought leadership, and then also in later stages. And what I'll say also that in addition to actually leading thought and having original thoughts that they're putting out into the world, the second part of it is that they're actually leading, meaning that they have a platform and people are actually following them and listening to them and implementing what they're saying, doing something with it. So it's not just about having content, but it's actually having content that's shaping the world and shaping what some people are doing. Before we continue with this video and dive into the deeper content, I would love to know, what is it that you are trying to be the thought leader of? And while you're at it, maybe hit the like button, subscribe to my channel so that we can stay connected. So a few ways that you can cultivate your thought leadership. One of them is to start cultivating and building your audience, your platform. A thought leader is someone who's gathering to them people who are interested in and perhaps even like-minded about the thing they're leading thought in. Substack is one really great place for thought leaders to start building audiences. This is a place where you can publish your content and start to amass a subscribership, a following of people who are really listening to you. YouTube is another amazing channel for building thought leadership. That's pretty much my entire strategy, is a thought leadership marketing strategy. So I regularly and consistently publish videos on this channel that push the edges of thought in my business, in my leadership, in my industry. So I'm working in the coaching industry and I have a lot of thoughts about how that works. And so you can come here, you can subscribe to my channel. You can do the same in your field to position yourself as a thought leader. There's this other part of thought leadership that doesn't get addressed too much. This is possibly where I'm now contributing my own thought leadership to this space. And that's where a lot of times people have really interesting ideas and maybe they have somewhat of a following, but their stuff never really catches on, never has the influence that it could or maybe even should based on how good and original the ideas are. And a lot of that, I believe, has to do with the person themselves and how they show up in the space. Let's talk about a thought leader that everybody knows about these days, and that is Brené Brown. Brené Brown came into the scene through a TED Talk, I think it was a TEDx talk on vulnerability. And she embodied her words so beautifully. She was literally embodying vulnerability as she was talking about vulnerability. And that's a very, very powerful component for a thought leader. A thought leader has to walk their talk. They have to eat their own cooking. They have to be the poster child for that which they're talking about in the world. That's what Brené Brown did. And that's what I see a lot of thought leaders missing. They talk, They have good ideas and they make good points, but they're not actually modeling it, living it, breathing it, and being it. So further on that thought about the embodiment piece, there's the energetic piece of all this. If you know me at all, you know that I like to get a little bit woo-woo, maybe just one woo. And a big part of what I focus on is the inner game of whatever strategy we're pursuing, right? So when it comes to thought leadership, there's the strategy of leading thought, there's the strategy of building a platform, but then there's the inner game of embodiment, like we just talked about, and also what I like to call equanimity. Equanimity means balance. It means being able to be all in and committed and in love with our ideas and our thoughts that we're leading, and at the same time cultivating a non-attachment to how it's received. Because if, as a thought leader, you are too attached with what people think of your ideas, of them agreeing with your ideas, of them liking you, then you won't have the courage necessary to really be a thought leader. Really true thought leaders are people who are pushing boundaries and have to have quite a lot of courage to be who they are and to say what they say in the world. And one of the biggest differences I see between just regular experts, credible experts, and thought leaders is experts will often do what they need to do and say what they need to say to maintain their status, whereas a true thought leader will risk their status to say what they need to say and do what they need to do, if you catch my drift. So that's one of the fundamental differences, and that's really an inner game piece. You gotta be willing to be made fun of, to be attacked, to be ridiculed, to receive all sorts of pushback. Otherwise, you're not really a thought leader. You're probably more like a thought reflector or a thought synthesizer. And then finally, in terms of that platform building, the thought leader is constantly producing ideas and content and putting it out there. Whether you're publishing, you're broadcasting, you're speaking, you are putting your thought leadership out into the world. You're expressing it on a regular basis and becoming known and trusted with a consistent output. If you are interested in positioning and promoting and publishing yourself as a thought leader, let's connect. You can find me at superstaractivator.com/go.